All right, guys, got some major, colossal breaking news. Brian Kelly has been removed from office at LSU. That's happened a couple hours ago. Wanted to wait on it a little bit. Wanted to sort of digest it a little bit. Told you guys this was going to happen yesterday. It was going to happen. It was going to happen today. It ended up happening. So we'll sort of break it down a little bit here. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Of course, we're recording this as Sunday Night Football is going on in DC. Packers, Steelers, of course, the Bucks getting a huge win over the Saints. May or may not played a small role into Brian Kelly getting fired. We'll touch on that here in a minute. But yeah, Brian Kelly is out at LSU. I told you guys this was going to happen yesterday. I felt very strongly about it. It sort of felt like to me what happened yesterday in Death Valley doesn't typically happen. Like the last time something like that happened, in terms of LSU getting destroyed at home, was probably 2020 against Bama. And that's not something a lot of folks at LSU really want to have to watch and have that repeated. So it kind of felt like something was going to happen, either a coaching change, either at the top, or a assistant coaching change. And it turns out it's a full-on regime change, and Brian Kelly's out of a job. I mean, look, it kind of is what it is. I mean, he wasted not only Garrett Nussmeier in this really good defense, but also Jane Daniels, who won the Heisman, and wasted him because of their defense. So he ended up just completely wasting a very good offense and a very good defense both separate times, and it's not good up there in Louisiana. It's just not good enough. I mean, when you have Nick Saban, freaking Les Miles, and freaking Ed Orgeron who won national titles, and Brian Kelly couldn't do that, that's not good enough. In the words of Will Turner in Pirates of the Caribbean, that's not good enough. And it's not good enough. And I think folks at LSU felt that last night was the culmination of things that had happened. And since I've, been listening to several people, several folks sort of discuss this firing, and has since come out from Josh Pate and others that apparently Brian Kelly, in terms of this past summer and I guess spring as well, didn't really give a crap about this team. He apparently was like on vacation, didn't really care about the hires they were making, didn't care about the personnel they're bringing in. So basically, he just said, "Whatever, okay, like I'll put this on autopilot and it'll fix itself." That to me is almost hard to believe, but also I can't believe it. And I think obviously JP wouldn't be lying about that, but that is pretty damning for Brian Kelly and his legacy. That he pretty much said, "Fuck this. I don't care about LSU. I don't care about college football right now. I'm going to the beach. I'm hanging out. Do whatever." And I think Scott Woodward, if that is indeed true, which I think it is, he has every right to make this decision. I mean, that is pretty damning. If you're a college football coach, for Brian Kelly, that's pretty damning as well. But as I mentioned earlier on Twitter, it's kind of interesting as the Bucks game was sort of wrapping up. I sort of got this feeling that it almost felt like that the folks at LSU were just waiting for the Saints game to finish up, because at least to me, at least it's been sort of, at least the way it's been sort of telegraphed or choreographed to me a little bit about LSU is that a lot of these LSU boosters, a lot of these LSU financial benefactors for the program are also Saints fans. And it came to my attention through personal ways and through what I was hearing throughout the day that, an announcement for Brian Kelly in his future or any sort of coaching change, either on the staff or him himself, was going to come after the Bucks game. And the reason why was because, of course, the Bucks were playing the Saints, big rivals, obviously big regional rivalry, and a lot of LSU influencers, a lot of money folks are also Saints fans. And it came to my attention, or at least to me personally, that it's not outside the realm of possibility that the Bucks winning today and destroying the Saints basically just really pissed off the LSU benefactors who were also Saints fans, and that could have probably led to the decision coming when it did, which was after the Bucks game. So it's not surprising if it comes out down the road that, hey, look, after the Bucks game this past Sunday, which was today as I'm recording this, that may have been the final the final straw for Brian Kelly. Unfortunately, that a lot of the LSU benefactors who were also Bucks fans were just pissed off just so much that they just said, "You know what, fuck it, let's pull it and move on." And I think that may have happened today. So sort of inadvertently, Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield probably ended Brian Kelly at LSU. That's my opinion. That would not surprise me if that's the case. But as for what LSU is going to do moving forward, I mean, look up interim coach. I don't know who it is. It could be Blake Baker, could not. I don't think it's Blake Baker. But who is the current defensive coordinator who was at Missouri previously? It's unfortunate too that it's kind of funny as I'm now thinking about it, that it kind of makes sense why Josh Payton called Blake Baker an American hero, because it was basically, at least from what I'm gathering from Josh Payton now, knowing what Brian Kelly was doing over the summer and spring, it sounds like to me that Blake Baker was literally the head coach of LSU. Like, wow, come on, dude. Like, that is, if you're Brian Kelly, I mean, oh, man. So that makes even more sense now that Josh Payton since revealed that. That's why he was calling Blake Baker an American hero, because it was literally basically hauling LSU's ass over the finish line. And that's kind of what happened. So, well, that's insane as Green Bay Packers here score again. I believe, what is it now? 22-19, they take the lead again. But, watching Sunday Night Football here on my TV here in my studio. But for LSU going forward, I mean, look, they'll have interim coach. They'll do a huge search here. Now, we'll say this in terms of candidates. We won't really discuss that here. We'll probably do that more on Tuesday. But, of course, you'll hear a lot of folks bring up John Summerall. And I think for a lot of folks, particularly in the southeastern region of the country, John Summerall being a candidate for the LSU job is not a good thing. Why? Because Auburn is hoping that John Summerall is their coach. Because Hugh Freeze is probably out at Auburn, and that's pretty clear. And should tone myself down here a little bit. But I think the thinking is for Auburn and John Summerall. Of course, Summerall is from Alabama. He grew up there for the most part. His wife went to Auburn. There's a lot of connections there, which is why people think he will take that job. Not to mention, I think he's privately said that is indeed his dream job to coach at Auburn. Auburn, I think, because of this news at LSU and what John Summerall could do, potentially him taking that job, hypothetically, could spring Hugh Freeze to get fired tomorrow. I'm just putting it out there. I think there might be something happening there in the Plains tomorrow with this news coming up. And this may get even more balls rolling, not only just at Auburn, but other programs across the southeastern region. So because of John Summerall and what his name brings to not only Louisiana, but also the Southeast in general. So do not be surprised if other news begins to come out because of this LSU job. And I will say this too. The LSU job is a keystone job in college football. It is a keystone species, as Josh Payton calls it. It is a job that, if open, a lot of folks, not all, but some, will listen to and even consider going to. And he even mentioned this, JP mentioned this back even last week, that there's a lot of coaches that he has talked to personally that he can't reveal because of legal reasons, that would strongly consider LSU leaving their current job. Not only not G5, but current P4 coaches. That's a big deal. So if you're Auburn, if you're Florida State, don't be surprised tomorrow if you hear that stuff's happening tomorrow to get it to sort of join LSU in this sort of, like revolution, if you will, for college football programs. So don't be surprised. So, yeah, John Summerall will be a huge name for LSU. I think Alex Kalesh will be up there. I think James Franklin maybe potentially could be up there as well. Because I'm going to drink here. Look, after the Bucs win today, definitely need to hydrate. But yeah, I do believe that Auburn, other programs across the southeastern region who are looking to move on from their coaches currently could potentially make an announcement tomorrow, just because of how impactful this LSU announcement was today. So yeah, I do think that you could get some news on that tomorrow. Again, I do also believe, me personally, again, this is not me reporting something, but me personally, I do believe that the Bucs winning, the Saints losing to the Bucs today, I believe really pushed over a lot of influential LSU people, money people, because they're already pissed off to begin with because of the A&M loss yesterday. But I do believe that this Bucs win today really, really, really pushed them off the edge, and I think they got really pissed off, and that's why you saw what happened today, and that's why it ended up coming after the Bucs game. So again, I think that's not just me saying that. At least personally, I think that's probably common sense that the Bucs, Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield, sort of inadvertently had something to do with today's firing. So yeah, I think LSU opening up, clearly the biggest job on the market right now, the best job on the market. Again, I think it'll shock you to hear down the road that there are several coaches and current P4 coaches, or even P2, just more specific, that would take this job if called, more than likely. So you can fill that in who you want to in terms of the names. But except for Brian Kelly, I know that he cares about coaching football, at least what I thought. But after hearing what Josh Pate said earlier, maybe we should feel sorry for him. Maybe this is, you know what? You basically giving zero fucks during the off season, during spring and summer, about how your program is going. Maybe you got what you paid for. And you know what? Like I said yesterday too, the way you treated Louisiana, Brian Kelly, and your staff, firing Tony Moffitt, firing other folks who were critical to that program over the years, over multiple head coaches, you got what you paid for. You got what you paid for. So hope you're happy about that. So yeah, I guess no remorse for Brian Kelly now. That apparently what Josh, if what Josh Pate said is true, that Brian Kelly basically just said fuck off to LSU, then I have no remorse for him. That's embarrassing for him and his legacy. So that is something that I did not expect myself to say. But again, if that's true, then that's shame on him for doing that. So I think for LSU and Scott Woodward, I mean, I know a lot of folks are hot on him right now. That's not his fault if Brian Kelly ended up being what he ended up being. Obviously, he couldn't foresee that. So obviously, Scott Woodward would have to obviously atone for that, which is why I believe he will go very hard in this coaching search, which is his second now. Of course, the Louisiana governor was also a part of this, I think, on top of the Bucks winning today over the Saints. That didn't help either. Him calling out LSU, who would be sort of raising the ticket prices next year, which I forgot about, which was interesting for him to bring up. So, yeah, because of what LSU did today, I think you're going to have several big SEC jobs, particularly Auburn, I believe, could open tomorrow in terms of helping themselves also be established with trying to get John Summerall. I think that will be the big name for both of these jobs, and I think if you're Auburn, I think you need to. So, I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but yeah, I mean, Brian Kelly is out. I thought what was happening after yesterday and what happened yesterday, and just the vibes I was getting, and ended up happening. It was sort of teased out during, ironically, the Bucks game that this was going to happen. That's why I thought, as soon as that game concluded, it felt like to me that there was going to be an announcement. I was true. I was right about that. I think part of it was themselves, the Saints losing. I think that sort of extra motivated a lot of the LSU big money folks who are also Saints fans to make a move just out of, I guess, pure emotion after losing that game today to the Buccaneers. So that also didn't help too. I firmly believe that also didn't help. So yeah, we'll be back, of course, on Tuesday to talk about more about candidates and what's going on with the search. But Brian Kelly out, no shocker. The way it went, the way that Brian Kelly sort of treated this job is unfortunate. It's embarrassing. And I think the regime change and decision today is even more reasonable now. It makes more sense why LSU decided to do it. Even makes more sense, too, what Josh Pate said about Blake Baker and him being an American hero. And adds more context to that. And I think he even said that on this show, too. So him saying that earlier throughout the year or during the year was not a mistake. That was not him just doing that by himself. That was based on what he knew, and obviously couldn't share that until Brian Kelly was fired. So, wow. So that kind of shook me a little bit. That gave me some chills hearing that. So, of course, we'll be back on Tuesday. Reaction to the Bucks win today, which again I do believe sort of played a role into this, sort of inadvertently. But that about that Brian Kelly out of job then makes now two major SEC jobs open. I think a third in Auburn is it's not a matter of if, but when. I think that maybe tomorrow. Again, given that LSU is a keystone, it is indeed a keystone, job and whatnot. I think Auburn, because they will be running into similar candidates for that job, for the Auburn job, if it does come open. That's why I think Auburn and John Cohen will probably say, you know what, time to pull off the Band-Aid. If LSU's going, we're going too. So that to me makes more sense now that I'm thinking about it. So, yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday talking about this coming up week's games and whatnot, and previewing that, and talking about coaching searches, and talking about the Bucs Saints game today, which the Bucs won dominantly. Of course, we'll talk about more about that on Tuesday. So until then, take care. We'll see you then.